A wonderful good evening and welcome, welcome, welcome to our global gathering from all around the world. And I love this part so much when people say hello and where they're calling in from. And it's Portugal, it's the UK, it's Slovenia, it's Germany, it's Austria. Hello, evening, welcome, Austria. That's where I'm from originally. I'm dialing in from Greece here. We have also Romania here. We have South Africa here. We have a beautiful delegation from Hungary here. We're actually translating in Hungarian language. We've got San Diego here from California. Welcome, Jana. And Copenhagen and Arizona. Goodness gracious. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to this wonderful evening and global gathering. Lisbon now. Fantastic. I'm so delighted because we have Brandon here live this evening. And first of all, I also want to say, because when I looked at the names before we opened the doors, I recognized quite a few of you as well. So you are people who've already done the journey. So a heartfelt welcome to you. And also, this is always an opportunity to bring our friends, to welcome our beloved ones, to those people who may have done so much work and still not done yet. And this was our theme for this evening. And this is where Brandon is the expert. And I'm also aware that we have a lot of people here who may be here for the first time, that people who meet Brandon for the very, very first time. And so just a little bit of a more formal introduction for those of you who don't know her. Well, first of all, me. Who am I? Why am I talking even? My name's Gabby Burt. I've been with Brandon and the journey for 30 years. I actually came and did a workshop 30 years ago, fell in love with the work, and I'm still here. I'm an international director, managing director for the journey, and it's been the biggest, most profound privilege in my life to kind of stand side by side with Brandon over the years, over all those years, and introducing the journey into something like 45 to 50 countries around the world. Many of you know that her original book, The Journey, was published just before the millennium and sold over 1 million copies. It was translated in 23 languages. Brandon is known as an expert in emotional healing. She is a best-selling author. She has healed. I mean, she's an incredible speaker. She has healed from a tumor the size of a basketball without medical intervention. And this incredible story has led her to kind of put everything together. And this is how the journey was born. This is how the journey came into life. And the journey method, where Brandon is the founder, is something that she has shared with the international audience for the last 34 years. And so hundreds of thousands of people have experienced incredible healing, from something as simple as a painful shoulder to a serious chronic illness, even cancer. So there's so many incredible stories, and I've had the huge privilege to stand alongside. And you can't stand alongside Brandon and not do the work herself. So for me, I came as a participant. I came as somebody who wanted to find out what this work was all about. And I didn't even think there was anything wrong with me, and I just wanted to find out for my clients. I was a homeopath at the time. And oh my God, I just realized when I did the very, very first workshop that there was quite a lot of work to do for myself. And so it's a huge privilege to welcome Brandon this evening. We're going to go through a few sections and some experiential work where Brandon guides us through internal introspections. And so I'm going to come back on halfway through. And I also wanted to let you know that the Journey Immersion, this 2-day workshop, that we have an incredible offer on for those of you. And I'm going to, when I come on in about halfway through, I'll share a little bit about it. And but without further ado, first of all, let's welcome Brandon into the room. I don't know the globe icon that you're talking about, Win, so I'm not sure what you are seeing that I'm not seeing. But anyway, it's lovely to have everybody here. I'm delighted. I'm very, very grateful to everybody to come and experience Brandon Life this evening, to share with us why it is that we may have done so much on ourselves, that we may have done so much work already, and why is it still here? And she's the expert. She's the expert, and she can guide us exactly all the way through. And the globe icon means translation. So if you do need, thank you, Annette. If you do need Hungarian translation, then click on the globe and you can find it there. So have a beautiful evening, everybody, and I'll see you in a little bit. Thank you. Thank you, Brandon, for being with us this evening.
Well, a heartfelt welcome to everyone. And when we first brought up this topic, I thought, oh my God, that's a topic that everybody can relate to. It seems these days that we are trying to be more conscious, are trying to clear our own issues. And yet we are finding out that it's not enough just to talk about them or try to figure out what's going on. It's not enough to reframe them, that we're somehow, there's areas of our life that we get stuck in. And it could be something as simple as your boss is offering a promotion and a raise, and that possibility is there. And you kind of psych yourself up to go do that, to go speak to your boss, to interview for this promotion. And you just can't get through the boss's door. Somehow you freeze and you're stuck. Or it could be you're in a relationship with someone and you know it's going deeper. And there's a desire to really open and be vulnerable and exposed. And you somehow can't get past this feeling of a defendedness where you're feeling like the emotions are inside, but you cannot let those emotions be seen. And so you're guarding, defending against getting hurt again. And it happens in every relationship. And eventually it's what explodes the relationship, is that you know it's going to happen and you can't stop it. And it can happen in every field, like in our creativity, where you want to write a book or you're painting paintings and somehow you get writer's block and you just can't get through past it. Or you're painting and you paint one paintbrush stroke and you look at it and it's horrible looking, and you put up a blank canvas and can't paint again. And it can happen in so many areas of our life where we're losing weight, feeling wonderful, and for some reason, our friend calls up, let's go to the movies tonight, and suddenly you don't go to the gym, and somehow the diet falls away, and you're back to the same weight you were before you started. And so we all have these lids, these areas in our life where we get stuck, where we have an emotional issue. I know I was speaking with a client the other day, and she had this emotional issue where she just couldn't say no. People would make demands of her, and she would let her own needs go into the background, never be met. And yes, she had to go and do the thing that, was being asked of her, even though she needed time out. She needed to have time by the lake and just relax. Once again, she got pulled in and she didn't know, what is the emotional root cause? Why is it that I think I know what the reason is that I can't say no, but thinking it isn't changing my reaction? It's like a knee-jerk automatic reaction. And so I just wanted to invite you, because this is going to be an experiential time where we're going to be learning something about the science, and we're also going to be diving in deep and exploring inside ourselves and going through meditations and other different process work. So you're not from a level of the mind, but from the level of the heart, the level of the soul. We can uncover what's really going on inside the body. But even just take a moment now. Just do a little tiny exploration right now. Just close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, letting it out. and just kind of casting your awareness back to the different areas of your life, be it your work life, your financial life, your love life, your family life, your creativity, and just take a look how there's certain areas where no matter how much work you've done on that emotional issue, you still have that knee-jerk reaction. You still get stuck, you still freeze. It could be like you're at work and your boss yells at you in front of everybody, and you just freeze, and you're actually incapable of saying anything. It could be that relationship where you just can't open yourself fully because you're afraid of getting hurt. And just look at the different areas of your life. You've always wanted to do something, and you can't bring yourself to do it. And just scan the different areas, your creativity. You may be a musician, and you just can't put yourself out there to really audition, to be out there, to be seen, even though you love making music. And so look at the various areas of your life and notice where it seems like you have this lid or this glass ceiling or a freeze reaction or a feeling of stuckness, an inability to take action. It may be something that's happened in the last few days where you thought you'd handled that issue and you still had the same reaction. And so just kind of letting it arise in your awareness, the different areas of your life where you feel like you've tried to understand it, explain it away, somehow transform it, and nothing has worked. And you're still reacting in the same unhealthy way. What it feels like when you're at work and a promotion's being offered and you can't find your way past that door to your boss's door and to really put yourself out there. All of us have these areas where we feel stuck or stymied, or somehow we're reacting in the same unhealthy way each and every time. And so just let those be in your awareness, because we're going to be going exploring later. But just hold these issues in your awareness. And so let's take another nice deep breath in, letting it out, and opening your eyes, opening your eyes. So I just wanted to bring whatever issues are happening with you up to the surface so that as we begin to dive in later, you'll go, oh, yes, there is that time that so-and-so kept asking me for their help, for my help, and I said yes, and I so much wanted to do something else. And so just keep this all in your awareness, because we're not only going to be learning about the science of why it is that we're stuck or having knee-jerk reactions on automatic pilot, but we're going to then explore what's at the emotional root cause. Now, one of the things that science has found about our emotions is that when we are at a peak of a strong emotion and we shut it down, it releases into our bloodstream a quantifiable biochemistry that will go to certain cell receptors and block them, rendering those cells incapable of communicating with the rest of the cells in the body. If over time illness happens, it's likely to happen where the cell receptors are blocked. But this programming, let's say, there's so much research, and I'm sure you've probably read all about it online, happening in the field of trauma. And all of us have had trauma of some kind. And trauma is now these days classified not just as physical trauma, like an auto accident or physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse. It's not just those big kinds of things. It's also in the area of, let's say you were abandoned by someone, betrayed by someone, or you were neglected. It's whenever you are at a peak of a strong emotion and you freeze. So it could be that you're in front of that door at work, getting ready to go into the boss's office, and you've psyched yourself up. You're going to kind of put yourself out there, put yourself forward, and you get to the door and you just freeze. And that feeling is that I'm going to blow it is there. And there's an immediately, when you freeze like that, it's a kind of going into a mini shock. That's when you shut down. And that, all the emotion you were feeling, all the unspoken words that were there in your mind, all the beliefs you had, I'll blow it, I'll never get this job, I'm not worthy of it, there are other people that should get this job, whatever the beliefs were there, and the emotion attached that I'm a failure, I'll blow it, I'm never good at this kind of thing. All of that biochemistry gets released in the blood cells, going to those certain cell receptors, blocking them. And this programming of the emotional trauma, the shutdown, the unspoken words, the beliefs, the negativities, it gets stored inside and buried in the body. And that before that cell generation dies, it passes on its consciousness, its programming to the next cell generation. So the next cell generation is born as an exact replica of the previous cell generation. And so this programming gets passed on throughout our life. And whenever we get triggered, up comes this emotional issue. So it's the kind of thing, let's say you're driving somewhere and you're in traffic and someone just cuts you off and up comes this rage. That person didn't come in the middle of the night and stick rage inside of you. That rage was already there. And all they did was push your buttons and up came the rage. So all of us have these emotional patterns that are buried inside of our bodies. And what happens with the journey is a method that will take you on a journey inside your body to get to the specific cellular locations where these old cell memories are buried, the old emotional pain, the beliefs, the consciousness. And you go through a deep process of letting go and coming to release and forgiveness. And ultimately, so when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. As a matter of fact, Gabby mentioned that I ended up having a basketball-sized tumor at the age of 39 years old. And I can remember I was at the medical clinic, and the doctor said it probably started as one cell when you were 8 years old, and then it replicated. And then by the time I was 39 years old, it was replicating exponentially. And, I looked like I was 6 months pregnant, though I knew that I wasn't. And so these cells get passed on generationally from one cell generation to the next. And so what the journey does is it interrupts that programming, clears what's stored inside the cells so that the new cells are born without that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. And so there's a second aspect to the journey, what it's capable of doing. I can remember at the time that I, was diagnosed with this large tumor. I was already in the field of mind-body healing, complementary medicine. I was actually certified and accredited in a lot of different areas of integrative medicine. And so it was the last thing I expected to have happen. And I can remember leaving the doctor's office with this horrible prognosis. And I walked out, and at that time I'd moved from New York City, where I'm from, to LA. And I walked out into the LA sunshine. I was holding the hand of my best friend, and I'd gotten this horrible prognosis. And I looked up, and in front of me, there was a mimosa tree, a tree that looked like golden rain. And it was a tree I hadn't even noticed going in. And at this point, my heart is pounding through the roof with the prognosis that I've gotten. And my mind is going a million miles a minute. And I looked up at that tree, and it was like my racing thinking mind just stopped. And everything became timeless. And my mind wound down. And I ended up opening into a vast field of awareness, of presence, of something that I didn't have a name for, that was everywhere. And out of nowhere, there came gratitude. Gratitude to see a tree that I had noticed going in, to smell a fragrance that I hadn't smelled. Gratitude just to be allowed to breathe. And as I was resting in this timeless presence, there came a gut knowing that somehow I would be guided to heal. And even though I didn't know how that would be, I was so grateful for the work that was going on in the field of cellular healing. And for at that time, as we're talking in 1992, for the work of Dr. Deepak Chopra, because at that time, he was a chief surgeon general in a hospital in Boston. And he did a radical thing as a medical doctor. He decided he would investigate and gather case studies of people who had healed without medical intervention, without drugs or surgery. And he said, we know enough. We know about how to look at the symptoms, see what leads to ill health, and ultimately see what causes people to die. So we're all focused, be it in the integrative medical field or the orthodox medical field, on what makes people die. But he said, no, I want to ask a different question. What makes people heal without any kind of medical intervention? And so he amassed hundreds and ultimately thousands of case studies together. And he found that there were people who could heal, who healed what is medically called spontaneously, is they had two qualities in common. One was that through some act of grace or spontaneous event, they actually got access to this that he called the infinite intelligence, the part of you that makes your heart beat and your eyes shine and your hair grow. This vast field of enlightened awareness that you came in as, this love that is your essence. The second thing that they had in common was that through some act of grace or spontaneous event, they actually got access to this that he called the cell memories. And if somehow they spontaneously were inside their body and got access to the actual cell memories that had co-created the illness and somehow released what was there, when the new cells were born, they were born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. Now, I knew all this studying that was going on. I'd actually seen the case studies, but you can know all the science on the planet. You can understand how cellular replication happens, how trauma gets stored inside the body, how that trauma gets passed on from one cell generation to the next. But unless you have a method, it's no more than a vision of possibility and inspiration on a page. And that's where I stood. And yet I had this gut knowing that somehow I would be guided to heal. And so the gift of my own life-changing radical healing journey, because I was really catapulted on a spiritual journey, was I did find a means for all of us to get in touch and open into this vast field of love, of peace, that is your own soul, this enlightened awareness, this field of oneness that you came in as. And so I found a way, a direct method for all of us to open into this vast field of love that we came in as. And I also found a way for all of us to go on a direct journey inside ourselves, to uncover those old cell memories, go through a deep process of healing, releasing and letting go, understanding what's happened to you, ultimately forgiving, so that when the new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. And so if I had to say, what is the journey in a nutshell, as a metaphor, the best way I could describe it is to say that we, all of us, come into this world as this radiant, shining awareness, this vast field of oneness where we feel part of all of life, as if all of life is happening inside us. As a matter of fact, science has found that when you are a newborn infant and in the first hours, days, and weeks of your life, you feel yourself to be such a vast field of oneness, of love, of awareness, that when mother's hand comes before your eyes, you experience mother's hand as actually being part of yourself. There's no separation anywhere. So we, all of us, come in to this world as this enlightened awareness. But unfortunately, through the course of life's pains and trials, this vast field of love that we are, it gets covered over with a series of shutdowns, of pains, of traumas, of limiting beliefs, negativities. And it could be something simple like you're 3 years old and you're crying about something. And your mother says, come, we've got to dry those tears. We've got to get you off to nursery school. And the first automatic, involuntary shutdown happens. And the belief, oh, I'm not allowed to cry, at least not those ones that have the tears. And so that emotion isn't allowed. And when you start shutting down one emotion, you start shutting down all emotions. I can remember I came from a very domestically, violently challenged household. And part of the way I used to escape was into my children's books. And so I loved reading. And I, of course, at the age of 8 years old, was a good reader and a good speller, because anything you love doing, you become good at. And I got chosen in our elementary school to represent the third graders in this county-wide spelling bee, where all the schools in all the county were coming together. And I was standing on stage representing our school, and I'd already spelled 3 different difficult words. So here I am in this stadium, and I'd spelled 3 difficult words, and then they gave me one of the easiest words in the English language, the word fleet. I'd never seen the word fleet in any of my children's book, but I had seen the word flea, an insect, and I said, F-L-E-A-T, and the whole audience was hushed. And all at once, it erupted into laughter. Now, no one had given me a manual. How do you deal with humiliation in front of your fellow peers, your students, all the teachers, all the parents, in a stadium full of people? How do you deal with that? No one gave me a manual on that. And I looked to my mom, who was in the 3rd row, and I said, inside, I was just looking for some support because everyone was laughing. And she looked at me as if I was the greatest disappointment in her life. And she just shook her head and went, and internally, it was like this wall just came slamming down. And that day I decided I'm just so stupid. I'll just be a laughing stock my whole life long. I'll never be good at anything. I'll never succeed at anything because I'm just incompetent. I'm stupid. And it's like this. We have the emotion, and then attached to that emotion are the negative beliefs. And it all gets stored, buried inside the body. I can remember I was 16 years old and I had my first crush on a boy. And I tried to impress him. And you know how that is. And I made a total out and out and complete and utter fool of myself. And I watched the first love of my life literally running out of my life. And I was running after him. And that day I decided I'm so unattractive. I'm just unlovable. I'll never attract anyone I'm attracted to. I'm just not worthy of love. And it's like this. The emotion happens, the shutdown happens, and the beliefs that you had attached to that emotion get buried inside the body. So all of us have these layers inside of our bodies. And then when we get to be adults, this whole mess is covered over with this polished mask that we present to the world, where we say to the world, no, I'm an adult and, I'm reliable and responsible. And then we wonder why everyone thinks that we're so full of, and you can finish that sentence. And if you get to be very lucky, life gives you a wake-up call. Now, these wake-up calls can come in so many forms. They can come in the form of a loss of a loved one. They can come in a COVID lockdown, loss of a job, a divorce. They can come in the form of a war taking place, and perhaps even losing someone in that. It can come in the form of an evening like tonight, where for one moment you crack through this mask that you've been presenting the world. Something happens where you decide you're going to get real. In my case, it was a serious physical illness. But it can happen in any case that has any trauma attached, where you crack through this mask that you've been presenting to the world, and you end up opening down through the layers of all that pain, the shutdown, the negative beliefs, layer after layer, and spontaneously you end up opening into this vast field of love, of connection, of peace. You realize it's been there all along. Only like me, you bought into all the layers that covered it. And then if you're very lucky, you fall so in love with yourself, with your soul, with the truth of who you are, that like me, you'll do anything to continue to clear whatever blocks you, whatever shuts you down, whatever holds you back on any level of being, so that this radiant love that is your essence can live your life. So if I had to say, what's the journey really about? It's about getting real. It's about cracking through this hardened veneer that we present to the world, opening down to the layers of the limitations, the lies, the shutdowns, the pain, negative beliefs, eventually opening into the infinite intelligence, part of you that makes your heart beat and your eyes shine and your hair grow. And it's that deepest level of being, at the level of the soul, that you are guided by your own soul, not by the mind, by your soul, to various locations inside the body, and you directly uncover what's stored there and go through that deep process of release and forgiveness. So when the new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness, which is why this work is being used by medical doctors and in hospitals and by peoples of all walks of life to get to the emotional corollary of what is co-creating our reactions in life or co-creating illness in our life. And so we can't actually go through the whole deep immersive teaching of the Journey Intensive, where you'll have a chance to not only learn how to do this, but to actually undergo the full journey process, both on Saturday and Sunday, with the support of our beautiful journey practitioners. And I can't go through that, obviously, and it takes a full 2-day immersive experiential teaching. But what I can do is begin doing a divine experiment together where we can begin to uncover what is it that is causing me to shut down? What is causing me to react that way? What is causing me to freeze? So remember how earlier I asked you to bring into your awareness some of the areas that no matter how much work you've done on yourself, you still keep having these knee-jerk reactions. And so we're going to do a little experiment here, what I call a divine experiment, where we're going to have a chance to really step into one of those times where we had an unhealthy knee-jerk reaction where it feels like no matter how many times we get into that situation, we always react, either by shutting down, withdrawing, or lashing out. We've reacted in a way that disallows us from responding healthily. And so we're going to begin to kind of uncover what is deeper that's emotionally driving that. So let's just do a divine experiment here. Let's take a nice deep breath in, letting it out, and closing your eyes. And just taking a deep breath in of openness and blowing that into the room. And a deep breath in of the willingness to open emotionally, to really uncover what's driving me to act in that stuck way, in that limited way, in that shut down way. What's driving me emotionally? What are some of the beliefs that are here? And so that willingness just to open with your own body and your heart and your being to uncover what is driving you. Breathing that willingness into the room. And trust. Trust in your soul. That it is your soul that brought you here. And it's your soul that wants you to come home to the love that you are, the peace that's inside. It wants you to uncover what's holding you back, what's creating these lids, these glass ceilings, these knee-jerk reactions. It wants you to uncover that. So trusting in your own soul. And now letting your heart be as wide as the world. Wide enough to welcome all of these patterns of stuckness, these patterns where you've put a lampshade over your light, where just when your potentials try to come out, something shuts you down. It could be in painting, it could be in writing, it could be in some art form that you're trying to do. It could be in sport, where you're winning a golf match, and just at the last hole, just as you get ready to swing through the final putt that would make you win the game, something makes you blow it. And you don't even know what that impulse is, but something does that, and you blow it. And the championship goes to someone else. Or your boss has put out that there's a promotion available and a higher salary. And you psych yourself up and stand before that door and just can't do it. Or you're in a relationship, and somehow it may even be the love of your life, and you just can't fully open to that person. You can't expose what's really going on inside. Or perhaps it's in your finances, where you can't seem to break through this glass ceiling over your finances. In all areas of life, we have these areas where we freeze, where we shut down. We have a time where we not only do we freeze, like I did when that boy that I had a crush on, he ran away, and I just froze. And what got stored inside is I'm just unlovable. I'll never attract anyone I'm attracted to. Or when that spelling bee happened, the wall came slamming down. I'm not good enough. I'm a laughingstock. I'm so stupid. I'll never be good at anything. I'll never succeed in life. It's like this. We freeze, and this emotion and the words attached get stored inside. So, having done that previous exercise of just having opened, bring into your awareness a time recently or in the past few months where you've had this unhealthy knee-jerk reaction, where something happened and you just froze. Perhaps someone criticized you and you froze, or you withdrew, or you shut down. Perhaps someone asked something of you and you couldn't say no. You couldn't put yourself first. You put them first and then regretted it. Just let your awareness drift to that specific moment when you had that unhealthy knee-jerk reaction that you always have. And bring a specific memory of it forward into your awareness right now. You can even speak that out loud in your room. What took place in that memory? Bring it into your awareness right now. And now step into that memory and feel what you were feeling at that exact moment of shutdown, where you had a knee-jerk, unhealthy reaction. So step into that memory right now and go to the exact millisecond where your body froze, or you withdrew, or maybe you even lashed out. Go into that moment right now and feel what it feels like in your body to shut down, to withdraw, to lash out, how somehow you froze in that moment. Feel what that feels like. Now, roll the camera back just to that millisecond, because there was actually an impulse to react that way. An impulse to shut down, to freeze, to lash out, defend, or withdraw. So there was this impulse. So you go to the actual memory and feel what that feels like, that reaction. Roll the cameras back to that millisecond before when there was an impulse. And now roll the cameras back to that moment before that drive to react happened. And just kind of open with that moment. And what were you really feeling at that time? What were you really feeling? So once again, you have the memory, the reaction, roll the cameras back to the impulse, and now to the millisecond before the impulse to do that action, and just open up and kind of stretch that moment. What were you really feeling? What were some of the words that were here? And just speak them out into your room. Speak out the words that were there, the feeling that was there, just whatever the beliefs that were there. And as you hear those beliefs, how do they make you feel emotionally? And now asking if there were something deeper in the core of that more surface feeling, that more surface belief, if there were an even deeper feeling in the core of it. I wonder what that deeper feeling might be. And just opening with whatever feeling might be here. And perhaps there's even a belief that goes with that feeling, or words that are there. And just whisper that out into your room. What is this deeper feeling, or what are some of the beliefs that are here? Deeper beliefs. And then asking if there were an even deeper emotion and deeper belief that was sort of foundational to all the beliefs that are showing up. If there were something even deeper that was the foundation of all those beliefs, I wonder what that might be. There were an emotion and the beliefs, or if there were beliefs that then triggered the emotion. What might this foundational belief be upon which all the other beliefs are stacked? I know for me, there was a feeling of innate worthlessness, both in the spelling bee and with the boyfriend as examples. But I don't know what that foundational belief is for you. But if there were a foundational belief, speak it out loud right now into your room. And as you hear the words, how does it make you feel emotionally? And if there were like a carpet underneath it all, this foundational belief is like a carpet, and all the other beliefs you've had are being held up on top of this carpet. Take hold of this carpet right now and rip it out. Just take hold of this carpet and rip it out. And as all the other beliefs cascade and fall away and are swept out of the room, and that foundational belief is ripped out, and all the other beliefs are cascading away and swept out of the room, inquiring what remains here when all the beliefs have been swept out of the room. Who am I without these beliefs? What's here? And feel yourself opening and expanding into this boundless field of presence that is your own essence. When all the beliefs have been swept out of the room, what remains? Who are you? What are you? Just feel yourself opening and expanding into this. And just resting here in this ocean of presence, in this vastness of being. Soaking, steeping. A nice deep breath in. And sigh out. And the awareness remains spacious and vast, free and endless in front, boundlessly spacious and vast, behind, and infinitely vast, spacious to all sides. And you're just resting here, soaking in this ocean as it. And taking another nice deep breath in. And some. And when the eyes are ready, you can open them now into this ocean of presence, this vast field of awareness that is your own essence, that is your soul, and is spacious and vast and free and endless in front of you, boundlessly spacious and vast behind, and infinitely free and endless, and spacious to all sides of you. And taking another nice deep breath in, and letting it out, and opening your eyes now, opening your eyes into this vast presence of awareness that's here. And with your eyes open, allow awareness to be spacious, vast, and free in front of you. Let your own presence to be infinite and spacious and vast behind, spacious and free to all sides. And taking another nice deep breath in, letting it out. And if the eyes have not opened yet, this is your invitation to open your eyes now. And I'd love to hear where you started. What was the stuck area that you were feeling, that emotion or that pattern of behavior, and some of the beliefs that were with it? And what happened with you? And I'd love for you to write this in the chat box. When you started opening down through the layers of the negative beliefs and the emotions, and we ripped out that foundational belief and all the old beliefs cascaded away, and you fell into something, a vastness of being, this that is yourself, your essence. And so I'd love to hear what emotion you started with, maybe negative belief, and also for you to write in the chat box where you ended up here when we finally ripped out that carpet that was the foundation of all the beliefs and open into this that is your essence. And so if you'd be willing to just write into the chat box, what was the first emotion you started with? Where did you end up? I'd love to hear that. And Gabby will then share that was written in the chat box with everyone so we can all hear what the area of stuckness and the area that of how we ended up in this presence.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for this beautiful guided introspection, Brandon. So Jana started off by saying finances was the issue, and she got to love life. I love life. And
Wow.
then Amy said, I'm not allowed to have what I want. But then a little bit further down, she said, I don't have to accept that. And Pippa came up with being unlovable.
Yeah.
Atik came with weak and now not lovable, but now loved. Shame, unworthiness. Dorte said, I started with not being lovable as I will be abandoned. I let go of a negative belief. Hold on. Negative as an old cloak, being upright and looking people in the eye. So just through this simple exercise. Ellen came up with unworthiness and is now resting in peace. Catherine started with felt heavy, being criticized and freezing. And then I don't have the where she ended up yet from Catherine. Then Chantal had the core of it was not feeling good enough, unworthiness, and not being able to do it right.
Yeah.
Lizzie came up with first emotion stuck in my room on social media, too fearful to leave the apartment, do anything. Creative, and I'm an artist, and then now open to all possibilities.
Wow, beautiful.
Somebody wrote abandoned, neglected, useless, worthless, and then came into fully whole, magnificent, and capable of anything. And
Amazing, because we were just doing a little divine experiment here. And it was
Mark, hold on. There's a few more, not that many, just a few more. Margaret she came from shame to love. Alka had the inability to receive, leading to feeling unworthy in control and being controlled, ended up in peace and love. I'm a burden and unwanted, ugly, perfectionism and angry, and ended up with pure-hearted and feel desensitized and more neutral. Well done. Well done. Chris said, if I'm not enough for being a girl when I was born, hold on a minute, lost that one. I'll never be enough I'll never be enough for anyone. Now I'm enough for me. Wow. This is amazing stuff. Pain and suffering and now worthy of pleasure and love. And it goes on. There is more, there is more, more. So it's
So I just wanted to say, that these issues are really buried inside of us. And even though, this was not a journey process, this was just a little toe dip so that you could toe dip into your own soul. What happens with the journey process is you open into this vast field and you're guided through a very deep process of opening into what I call source, your infinite self. And you're guided by that to specific cellular locations where you not only uncover, yes, the beliefs, yes, the emotions, but the actual cell memories that are attached to that are buried there. And you go through this huge washing clean of your body, of that old issue, that old programming, and through a deep process of forgiveness. And something happens when you forgive. That's when you let go of your whole story of pain. You forgive self, you forgive others, forgive life, God, universe. And in that forgiveness, there's a letting go of that stored consciousness so that when the new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness. And one of the things that I feel that if you feel you touched on something today and you discovered it, we have a beautiful online program. It used to be I would travel for 44 weeks out of the year to the 39 countries we work in. And every week I went to a different country and was doing the Journey Immersion, which is a 2-day immersive retreat, really, where we roll up our sleeves and we dive in. And we get the full emotional journey on the Saturday and then the physical journey on the Sunday. And then in the afternoons, we pair up with a partner where we give each other one-to-one journey processes. And then you are supported. And what I love about it, because with COVID, we had to move all of this online. And so with COVID, like I had at the live events, I always had one journey practitioner who had been through a year-long training of the journey, who was there in support of you going through your process swap with someone else. And so if any questions come up, any emotions come up, some patterns come up that you feel you need, there's that embrace there. And in the online version, so it's very much live and interactive. And I'm teaching you the different processes and the different meditations. And then in the afternoon, you are going through the actual process work with the support of the trainers and the online host. And then same thing happens on Sunday. And then on Monday, we have this beautiful bonus day where I'm teaching you what I would call the advanced skills of how to really get completion with every area that these cell memories have to deal with, where you can feel like you're codependent, like you've got this energy cord between you and whoever you're in relationship with, and how to sever that in a healthy way to allow that person to be free to be themselves and you free to be yourself without in any way hurting the relationship, but allowing freedom for both of you. And on and on. There are dozens of these kinds of mini processes. And so you go away with this whole toolbox of tools that then you can help your loved ones take the lampshade off their light and to really come to a place of wholeness with their bodies and their heart and their being and come home to the love that is. And so I'm just going to turn this over to Gabby, and she can share with you. I know she wanted to share with you some offer that was happening. And so anyway, I'll turn this over to Gabby.
I'll do this in a minute, Brandon. And there's one question here, because the area that was the beginning of the journey and your tumor was a huge thing. And there was a question in the chat box earlier on, and I really would love you to just briefly address that, because somebody is saying, what is it? Is it I have illness after illness. I have a problem after problem. I do everything right. I'm doing everything right. And it's a never ending story. And I said, I would ask you to just briefly address this, because
Sure.
there may be more health issues in the room. I don't know, but I just felt called to just ask you that little question.
Sure. I'm in the same boat as you. I was 39 years old when I got that basketball-sized tumor. I had been in the health and complementary medical field and integrative medicine my whole adult life, and was a master trainer in NLP and medical hypnosis. I was a master herbalist, kinesiologist, massage therapy. I'd done every aspect of complementary medicine. And so getting that tumor was the last thing I ever expected to have happen. And part of the gift of what my own healing journey was, is I went on a journey inside my body to get access to these cell memories. And in my book, The Journey, it really takes you through my whole journey. And when I ended up inside the tumor, I uncovered deeply buried physical violent abuse trauma. Now, here I am, a therapist in life, right? And in New York City, I'd gone through 8 years of psychotherapy, and everything had to do about the physical abuse that I experienced in my childhood. And I'd gotten to a place where I said to myself as a therapist, I've come to a place of acceptance. I've come to a place of understanding, even compassion. But when I went inside the tumor and I uncovered this cell memory, this old trauma, and I thought, it cannot be this old trauma. I've so long since come to a place of acceptance and understanding. And that's what my arrogant therapist thinking mind said. But it was like my heart and my soul said, you have nothing to lose by facing this. And so I went through a process of release and letting go, and I was done with that. At the end of the process, I asked the peace that I could feel in the room, am I complete? And the simple word, no, arose. And I was catapulted into this deep despair. And I thought, I don't believe I got access to the right cell memory. And even if it is, I don't know how to complete. And I fell through that despair into a vast field of light, of love, that was embracing me. And out of that field came the word forgiveness. And of course, my arrogant, know-it-all thinking mind had done so much work on myself, said, it can't be. I mean, what difference could forgiveness make? That's what my mind said. But my heart said, you've got nothing to lose by forgiving. And so I went through a process of forgiving. And it hurt. Because you see, I'd created this whole noble identity of Brandon, the noble therapist who'd come to understand and have compassion for her violent past. And I had to step down my own self-made pedestal and face down 30 years of pride. Oh, dressed up as acceptance and compassion for my childhood. And it hurt to face down that much pride. But I finally stepped down off my own pedestal and opened my heart completely. And it was while I was forgiving that I realized that tumor had never been clinging to me. I'd been clinging to it. And 30 years of a blame game dressed up as compassion. It was over. And so what I had to do, truthfully, in answer to your question, where you've tried everything else, is I had to go someplace much deeper than all my knowledge. I kind of had to throw out everything I knew and open into my own soul. And it was my own soul that guided me to the cell memories. I ended up doing 3 more, now what I would call journey processes between then and the time I ended up in Cedars-Sinai Hospital 6.5 weeks later, and I was pronounced tumor-free without drugs or surgery. So there's likely trauma stored inside. And so the reason that the journey is right now used in hospitals, let's say in Tel Aviv, they have 3 hospitals. One is where let's say you have heart disease, and after you've undergone treatment, you then go into a recovery center where you undergo the journey to get to the emotional root cause of what co-created the illness and to clear it completely. Same thing in the cancer hospital, where once you've undergone the cancer treatment, you go for a week long into recovery, and you're getting to the cell memories, the consciousness, the programming, which co-created the cancer in the first place. Again, also in the 3rd hospital where they have fibromyalgia and multiple sclerosis, same thing. They're getting to the emotional root cause of what is co-creating illness. And they're finding, they actually did a documentary on it that was aired last September. And scientists got together and followed them for 5 years, these patients who'd undergone the journey. And those that had undergone the journey following their medical treatment, their heart disease didn't return, their cancer did not metastasize, their fibromyalgia actually started to heal, and they got out of their wheelchairs. And one woman was saying that she was able to dance again. And so all of us have this healing potential stored inside of our bodies. And the journey, in a very real and direct way, opens you into this infinite intelligence. to clear these issues, come to wholeness. Now, my prayer is for all of you that you don't wait to get a wake-up call like I got, that you give yourself your wake-up call now. You've got nothing to lose but a bunch of old baggage and everything to gain by coming home to the love that you are, the peace inside, the joy that is your essence. You've got nothing to lose but all the lampshades you've put over your light. And in a very real way, I believe no one can tell you what your healing journey is. Part of your journey is you find out your own truth. Discover your own answers. Go through your own process of release and understanding and letting go. Coming to a complete place of forgiveness. So that when the new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. And that's what I love about the journey. It's not some wisdom book knowledge you learn out here. It's listening to the truth inside yourself, finding your way home. And so I know I've taken us way past the time that we were supposed to go in answer to that question. But all these wake-up calls that you're getting with various illnesses, it's a wake-up call that it's time to come home and go on your journey with your own soul. To clear whatever blocks you and holds you back and shuts you down on any level of being. So this love that is your essence can live your life. So I truly must pass you over to Gabby and and let her share with you what's possible and how you can begin your journey now. And so just a heartfelt namaste and thank you to.
Thank you so much, Brandon. And I really feel that that question, what you've just spoke, I think it was hanging in the room. Otherwise, I would never prompt you or do anything like this. And so thank you very much. I'm sure you've spoken to many hearts. And thank you for being with us here live this evening and for the beautiful introspection that I'm sure brought up so much, and helped us uncover some of what's at the bottom and how it could be when we let go of it. So thank you so much for that. And everybody here, the stories are endless, and it started for me so many years ago, and I don't even want to start about myself, but I have a beautiful opportunity to join. So for everybody here who is coming to the Next Journey Intensive on the European time zone, I will be hosting you through this entire weekend. And because I keep saying that the stories are endless, I just wanted to share something, because I can talk all day long of the amazingness of Brandon's work. We can sing our praises all day long, but it gets real when we hear others, when we see it from other people. And I just got a few very, very short sentences to really hear what happens when we do this simple work that somebody said, I wish was taught in schools. That's what I thought when I first came to the journey. Why didn't anybody tell me? Why did I have to get to the complete shutdown where I was numbed out and couldn't feel anything anymore? So just let me very, very quickly, I really won't take much time of your time at all. I just want to briefly share a few beautiful words from people. And here Marius says, he thought he would come to something uplifting and pleasant. What he didn't expect was a life-changing experience that brought him face to face with almost forgotten conflicts in the past and resolved them in unexpected and profound ways. So just do it, is what he says. Alaka is talking about people being scared, and it's like, well, you do it first and you come back and tell me that was my story also. I have Alex here, and she said, I finally felt free of baggage and genuine spontaneous happiness became my default state. it felt as though I was fully back in the flow of life again and glad to be alive. That's this, there's no money that could buy that, you know. Gordana says you don't just learn something, but you get to experience it right on the spot. Also, for the first time, I felt that I'm not yet another participant in some course where no one actually cares. But what if you get what and if you get anything out of it? I felt seen and supported and encouraged by both the other participants and the beautiful team of coaches. Natalie said, I was able to access a memory that was not accessible with talk therapy. Up to this day, I'm only able to access certain parts of my psyche only with the journey. And this is just a very, very few stories that people we've extracted. They are in the thousands, and I've heard them, I've seen them. I'm a story myself, but here is the program, the Journey Immersion, and we have a very, very special summer offer on. Now, when we used to be in a seminar room live with people, the cost then, all those years ago, was already 697 euros. Now, in the online world, we've reduced it because there are fewer expenses. We've reduced it to 397. And for everybody here tonight, for everybody who is actually with us, we have a 72-hour offer open of 197 euros, and that's either US dollars or euros, and you can either join on the North American time zone, which I believe is almost fully booked, and we still got spaces in Europe on the 8th to the 10th of August, and you'll be spending time with me. Brandon's doing all the teaching in there, and I'll be walking you, guiding you through with a beautiful group of journey practitioners. And so what you do have is 2 full days of teaching and practical work. We really roll up our sleeves, undergo the journey processes. And we have a team of trainers who have done the full journey practitioner training with Brandon. You swap a process with other participants, you support from like-minded people in the community group. You have 2 weeks access to all of the replays and all the teachings. The scripts can stay with you forever. And we have a few bonuses, and the bonus is a free day, the 3rd day, which is advanced skills, which is really a continuation, a deepening, a continuation, a deeper understanding of how the journey processes work. You get a journey ebook read by Brandon, so you have an audio book read by her, so with Brandon's beautiful voice. And if those 2 dates don't work for you, these dates are coming up almost monthly. You can join. You just need to let us know 7 days in advance. And do you know, if you come to this workshop and something doesn't work, something really doesn't work, please let us know and you get your money back. But I have heard so many stories. I have people said the best money ever spent. I know that the online version, people have concerns that being online may not be as effective as being in a seminar room. Not true. Absolutely not true. We've been doing this seminar now since 2020, and the results are profound. There is no different. I mean, if you want to be with people, great, but you don't have to leave your home. I would encourage you to have privacy, and you undergo everything in your own space, in your own privacy, and it's deeply, deeply healing. If we get to the root cause of some of what an illness has at the bottom of it. You know, I have a very, very dear friend here in Athens, a very, very famous doctor lady. And I spoke to her about the journey, and I said, you know, I believe that 85% of all illness is down to unresolved emotion. And she shook her head and she said, no, Gabby, it's not. It's nearly 100%. Everything is down to consciousness and unresolved emotions. What Brandon spoke at the end, what she said that she needed to come to a place of wholeness or forgiveness and come away from her story of pride and understanding. and really get down off her own pedestal. It's even that was all emotional. I have huge stories to tell myself, my own stories that I have from clients of mine, from people that I have met in seminar, thousands of people that I have met over the years. And so if you've been working on something, if you've been holding on to unresolved issues, it's time, if not now, when? If not now, when? Because how much longer? If you knew that you can do something, you have absolutely nothing to lose. You've got 72 hours and you get this workshop that used to cost 700 euros for 197. It's an absolute steal. You have nothing to lose. Give it a go, throw yourself in, and see what emerges, what comes up, what you have. You have nothing to lose, you can only gain. And what you can gain is what so beautifully Alex shared here. Where is Alex? There she is. Fully back in the flow of life, again, glad to be alive, free of the baggage. That's exactly it. That's what the journey offers us in every area of life, whether that's health, whether that's our career, whether that's finances, whether that's creativity, whatever it is. If we get to whatever causes the root of it, if we pull the rug from it, it's gone for good. And it's not just for the weekend, it lasts. It's a lasting process that clears it out completely. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I leave you to it. By the time you come off, you will have an email in your inbox. You will have the signing up page. You will have everything there. 72 hours. We have this special offer on. If you want to wait longer and somebody tells you, then it's back to the 397, but you can get it in 72 hours for 197. Just as Nike says, just go do it. Just go do it. Nothing to lose. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening from all around the world, all across Europe, from South Africa, over from the United States, further to the east as well. I believe we had people here from India. We had people from so many parts of the world, and a beautiful, huge contingency from Hungary. So I would love to see you all at this upcoming Journey Intensive in August. Please come and join us. And finally, get rid of or clear out what's been holding you back, what's keeping you small, what's keeping you sick, and just let go of it. It's really actually quite simple. It just sounds a little bit more complicated sometimes. Anyway, thank you so much. That was another 10 minutes. Apologies. It's time for some of you, it's time for bed. For some of you, it's time for getting the day started. And for some of you, it's maybe just go back and watch Wimbledon if you are in the UK. Have a beautiful evening, everybody, or a beautiful day. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you soon. And thank you for those of you who've already done the journey, for sharing this with your friends, with your loved ones. It's also live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. So if somebody wants to see it again, it's possible there. Thank you so much with all my heart. Thank you. Namaste and good night. Bye-bye.